guys? So good to see y'all. Well, I'm not seeing you, so good to be in this life. Okay. I'm gonna start introducing Yosef because he has done so much. I have index cards. Okay, so my friend. He began acting in 2011. He graduated from Also attended Miami Acting Studio with Ralph Kinner. That is how I met him. Maybe 3 years ago or so, maybe 5. Time flies. He's been part of different shows and movies and even a music video like Hawaii Five-0, Last Resort, Miami Love Affair, directed by Ralph Kinnard, Me Llamas by Piso 21, HBO's The Outsider, MacGyver, Netflix Hit and Run, and we also have Universal Blumhouse blockbuster film The Hunt, which it was so good. I watched it recently and I almost cried when I saw him. It was a proud moment for me. He speaks 6 languages. He was a professional tennis player before he became an actor, and I had no idea. That is so cool. And his happy place is the beach, because he surfs. Okay, we're gonna let you into this space now.
Ooh!
Oh!
Valeria, that introduction with Matas Yahoo in the background, I could die right now. I'm done. That's it for me, man.
I'm so glad you appreciated
Absolutely,
that.
he's one of my favorite artists of all time.
I know, and I saw that you met him.
I did. We went to him. He played here in Lincoln Road when we went live. He was so
That's
cool.
That's crazy. How was
so
he?
cool.
Was he nice?
He was really nice. You could tell he was like, you know, when you see like an artist who's like been on the road for a while and they're kind of like they're exhausted. They kind of want to go home to their families. But he was like,
Right.
He came after the show. He met everybody, took pictures with everybody. He was super cool.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love his song "King Without a Crown." That has been my high school song for like a very long time.
For sure.
And it's so good to have you on this thing, Yosef.
Thank you.
How are you today? Talk to me. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm actually back here in Miami, Florida, in Brickell. I was in New York City, and I was there January, February, up until March 12th, because that's obviously when like it's pilot season. There's a lot of auditions going on over there, and actually came back to Miami because I have a girlfriend in med school at Miller at University of Miami here. It was her birthday, and I was just going to come for the weekend, and then this whole thing just went so crazy in New York City. So I stayed, and I've been locked in this apartment in Brickell since. So
that is crazy. I also found out that The Hunt was premiered while quarantine. How was that? You guys didn't get to have like a carpet or any of that.
I know. So it was really crazy. The movie kind of, I wouldn't say cursed or anything. So the movie was supposed to come out last year in September, but people saw the trailer for it and they thought that it was like Republicans versus Democrats and like a super politically charged movie about violence. And then the El Paso and Dayton, Ohio mass shootings. It was 1 week where we had 2 mass shootings, if you guys remember.
Oh yeah, I
remember. Like
and
15, 20 people died in 1 week. And then that trailer came out during those shootings. And then everyone was like, you cannot release this movie. So they canceled the movie.
I know, I remember that actually.
Yeah.
I remember there was a preview like on Google. You would look for The Hunt and it would be your face.
Yeah.
Your face. Like that was so
I know. I was so stoked. It kind of went viral and like Bloomberg News and everything was like, oh, they're going to cancel this movie. Even Trump tweeted about The Hunt. Like, look at you guys making this movie. And they decided out of all the frames, you guys, I'm in this movie for like 11 seconds. They chose one frame where it's like me and the main character. It was like so cool.
It was epic. And you did such a good job. I love that film. I thought it was very different. And I love the fact that I think it's Emma Roberts that she died at the beginning. So that caught my attention. I was like, oh, I thought she might have been like a character or something. I don't know. I just loved how different he was, and he was quick. There was no like.
It was super quick, super fun. Yeah, it was. It was really
Okay,
cool. You know?
so you began acting in 2011, am I correct? Um,
Yes.
how did you decide to become an actor? Like, what happened? Because I know you're
Um,
a tennis player. I now I know. I didn't know this.
yeah. Quick question before we start. If I have it horizontal and you have it vertical, is that looking weird for people? Or should I also do this?
Let's see. So much better.
Yeah, sorry. I
Like,
know I don't want this thing to like, because you post it, people watch it later. I'll just hold it like this. Perfect. So yeah, let's see. I'm originally from Honolulu, Hawaii, and I grew up there. And I started playing tennis when I was about 12 or 13. And I realized that if you play tennis good enough, it's not like basketball or baseball. You don't really go to college to go pro. You just kind of start playing professional tournaments. And for me, I was like, oh, I don't have to go to school if I can get really good at this. Because like any kid, I didn't like school. And yeah, I started playing professional when I was, I think, 13 and a half, 14. And I moved to Eastern Europe, which is why I speak all the languages, guys. I'm not like some super intelligent person. I just was really young and I lived in all these countries. And when you're young, you can just pick up languages so fast.
that's
And
true.
nobody spoke English. So it's like, if you want to know where the bathroom is, you're going to have to learn how to ask where the
You
bathroom is.
have to. Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
heard that's like the best way to learn a language. Go
It's
to the
full
place where
submersion. Yeah, it's so good.
yeah.
And so I did that for 8 years, and I came back to the U.S. when I was almost 20 years old, which is 2011.
Hmm.
And I had always just been obsessed with TV and film and storytelling, and I just immediately wanted to just try acting. I had
Hmm.
always heard like what everybody hears when you say, "Oh, I want to be an actor or any kind of artist." It's like, "Oh, you're going to be, struggling. It's really hard to make it. There's no guarantee. It's super
Hmm.
competitive." And like anyone, like that's disheartening. It's like, oh man, really? It's like that's something I want to
Yeah.
do so bad, but if it's a 97% unemployment rate, that's kind of hard. But
Horrible. Hmm.
thankfully in Hawaii, it's such a nice kind of little. We have a really good tax incentive, and we have a CBS studio there. So we've always had Hawaii Five O there. We've always had all the Jurassic Parks there. We've had Magnum PI there. Now there's the new Magnum PI there. There's always been at least one TV show always filming, and
Yeah.
it's really kind of cool because there's only a handful of actors. So you kind of, it's not like here in the mainland USA where it's like if you get an audition, it's going to be you and maybe 200-300 other people. Like I had a friend, he was the only. There's zero Latinos or Latinas in Hawaii, and it was one guy. It was one guy. He was like from like Sinaloa, Mexico, or something. So if any part had to be like, he went out for every Hawaiian part, every Latino part, every Native American
Wow.
part. The fact that he just was slightly like dark skinned, and he got every part because it was that was the pool. And
I think every Latino should go to Hawaii. So that's what we're trying
yeah,
to get at. Go enjoy it.
this is
Come
the
on, guys.
this is the
Come on.
actual
This
message
is
of
what we're
this
trying to
of this
say here.
whole interaction is yeah.
Okay. So, and then you get here and you go to UM, right?
Yeah, so I did two acting jobs super quick within 12 months in Hawaii, Hawaii Five-O and Last Resort, and then of course fell in love with a girl. The girl happened to be from Colombia, and she was like, "I don't like Hawaii. There's no Latinas here. I gotta get out." I was like, "Okay," and she wanted to move to Miami because apparently there was a lot of Latinos in Miami. So I was like, "You know what?
I
That
mean,
sounds like a new adventure. I don't speak Spanish. Let's do it. Why not?" I was 20, almost 21 years old now. And I came here, followed her here, and yeah, went to UM, kind of stopped acting. I was like, that's too crazy. Even though like I got two jobs, both jobs I had one word and one sentence. Like I had one line, no, one word, one line, and then in the other one I had no lines. I was just screaming and fighting. But it was
wow.
still super cool. It was still such an experience. I was hooked. But
Right,
when
but
you're
you were on set though, and that
yeah,
is an experience that
I
people
realize that now how
time.
valuable that was. Yeah,
100%. A lot of people
yeah.
haven't been on set, and being on set is a whole different game.
It's
Like,
it's such a trip, honestly. We'll go into it in real depth, for sure, if you want to. It's being on set is I mean, it's not you can't blame acting coaches at acting studios. You can't blame really anyone. It's something you just have to experience
wow.
because it's got almost nothing to do with like actual acting. The acting that you do on a set is maybe 1 to 3 minutes out of the 15 hours that you're there.
Imagine.
So the rest of the time, it's all like how you behave. And you don't think about that because you're just like, oh, wow. And it's super hard not to get carried away because you get on set and you're treated like you're part of the Royal British family. And it's really uncomfortable. Like somebody twice your age comes up to you. Hello, Mrs. Lopez, how are you? Is there anything I can get you to drink? Would you like a croissant? We have chocolate croissants. Would you like heated, unheated? This is going to be your trailer. You can sit here. Can I get you anything? Here's the Wi-Fi password.
Coffee, tea.
It's like,
Coffee,
oh my
tea.
gosh, no, what can I get you? It's like, stop. Don't be nice to me, please. Yeah. Like, I'm a piece of shit. Don't, yeah. It's super
weird. But you know what's also very interesting that I have to kind of talk about is when you're an extra, when you're a double, and when you are an actor, it's 3 complete different worlds on set. I mean, even
so
like
crazy.
the extras cannot get the food from like the people that are doubles, and then the people where there are doubles can barely not talking to the actors, and then the actors have their trailer. Like
it's such a hierarchy that's really funny, and there's so much ego involved, which is kind of meh. That's just part of it. But yeah, so I got to be on set twice, and it was so cool. I remember my very first acting job was Last Resort with Andre Braugher, who's the main African-American actor on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And watching, just being able to like, say again?
That's the one you did in Hawaii?
That was my very first job in Hawaii. And they literally told me to like, oh, go to this warehouse. This is your call time. I saw my first call sheet. Holy shit, whoa. And I went to this small warehouse, and this is what you got to love about the industry. What do you got to love about acting? I walked into this, what looked like an abandoned warehouse, and they had built a submarine inside this warehouse, and was like 20 cameras everywhere, 200 people, and it was just like, dude, you can't beat this.
The magic.
This is the magic, you know?
It's the magic of cinema, and it's so
insane.
special. But my question is, since you went to, so after those 2 jobs you did in Hawaii, you come here because of a girlfriend.
Because of a girl. Come here to act. I didn't come here to act. I was like, I kind of just fell in love. She was from Colombia. I never really, you know, it was kind of my first real girlfriend. So I dropped the career. I dropped everything. I was like, I just want to be like nice, you know, a little gordito and cayocho, ya tú sabes, you know, with my colada, and that was my dream.
But you know what? Good for you. I thank her, because if it would have not been her, you would not have been here.
We wouldn't have met. We wouldn't have met Ralph. We wouldn't, all of the above.
Exactly. So now we go to the whole thing that when you're in then you go to Miami acting.
Yeah.
Didn't you take acting in Because they have an acting program, don't
they? They had an acting program, but I remember kind of researching it, and it wasn't. So there's within acting itself, it's such different worlds. So if you go to acting and you study what they call drama, like you go to conservatory drama program, which is what offered. It's theater, which is so cool and so everything, but it's not what I'm really as passionate about compared to TV and film. And you literally just sit down and learn, you know, Shakespearean plays and whatnot. And I was just not really about that. So I ended up just studying kind of like psychology with neuroscience, because I was like going to go to medical school because my dad was a doctor. My grandfather was a doctor. I was like, oh, I can't fuck this up. But one weekend.
What happened when you did fuck it up?
Well, no, I honestly, my dad was so happy when I called him. I was like, Dad, I'm sorry. I'd rather be a doctor on a TV show. He was like, good call, man. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Thankfully, I've always had very supportive parents, which is not always the case for people. You know, it's a risk, you know, it's, you know, big risk, big reward. That's for sure. But I went to Miami Acting Studio because I Googled just like acting in Miami, and there was really only one place in, you know, because I was in Coral Gables down to the campus, and I was like, all right, let's go check it out. And I immediately fell in love with Ralph. I don't know if you guys watching know Ralph Kinnard at the My Acting Studio. Even if you don't act, I suggest you just go and take his class. It is just like it is a spiritual, humorous, journey, physical exercise journey.
100%. It's even very therapeutic for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
I know
a fun guy.
call it that. So sorry, Ralph. But I think that,
Raffi
you
is
know,
dope, man. The
Ralph is
actual
amazing.
legend is in the house right now.
You saw it? You saw it?
I saw him say movie magic. I was like, yeah.
I know. You guys inspire me so much. But yeah, I'm very glad. And then you're in Miami acting. Would you say that Ralph helped you get that confidence to start going smart, like making smart decisions about not just moving to New York quick, but like
Yeah.
going to New York, coming back to Miami, and doing the in and outs?
For sure, for sure. One thing that Ralph really focuses on, that's not even really necessarily towards acting, but it's like he really puts an emphasis on this is, your life. You really only have, one chance to live it. And so do something you're passionate about. Do something you love, because, you could even fail playing it safe. So why play it safe?
That's so. That's so.
And I went once, I went for a second week, I went for a third week, I went for 4 or 5 months straight. And that's not at the last location. I know there's a new location, not the previous location, but like the very first OG location.
Oh, I remember. Like
Yeah,
back then.
years
You were
ago.
in there,
And
what, years ago?
so that would have been 6 years ago. 2014 is when I first met Ralph. Yeah, 6 years ago. That's terrifying. That's insane. Yeah.
That just
And I sat down with him and I said, look, I really like to do this. And Ralph is really focused, like all acting coaches are, they're focused on their students. And one thing I really started to realize is there's a huge difference. And if there's one thing that anyone takes away from this whole Instagram live thing, is there's 2 parts to this business. There's the acting and the artistry side, but just as important, if not more important, there's the business aspect.
Let's go.
And you gotta know the business, because you could literally be an Oscar level actor, but if you don't know how to apply your talent and where and when and who,
what you offer as
well,
I think
and so it was really difficult because I realized, because right then we had 2 shows in Miami. I remember in 2015 we had HBO Ballers season 1, and we had the Netflix show Bloodline, which shot in Key Largo. And that following year, the governor of Florida completely cut the tax incentive, and so we lost both those shows. One finished, wrapped it up, and the other one moved to California.
I remember.
And so that immediately got me interested, and I realized there was no class you could take about the business of acting. All you could do is just be obsessed with it and just research. It's like I literally tell people, like, I've learned more on Google than any university classroom, than any conversation, than just literally, if you're so obsessed with a single subject and you want to know something and everything about it, you inevitably will. You'll filter out the bullshit. You'll waste your time. You'll take the shitty headshots with the so-so photographer. But if you succeedly as bad as you want to breathe when you're underwater, you will succeed.
Wow, that's amazing. That is like mind-blowing, and it's true. You've gone to a lot of studios for acting. Like, how many acting studios have you been into?
I initially started trying to expand. I was like, okay, what are the best acting agencies? The first step, obviously, get a headshot, get some stuff. Thankfully, I had this stuff from 4 years ago in Hawaii on my resume, so I was already kind of, like I wasn't like a new actor. I had a little advantage. They were both union jobs, SAG-AFTRA union jobs, because you guys know what the union is. And so I started to research, like, what are the best agencies in Miami? Okay, let's expand. What are the best agencies in South Florida? Okay, what are the best agencies in the state of Florida? And immediately, once I realized, I didn't really know exclusive, non-exclusive, I signed with Green Agency in Miami, Talent Direct Agency in Boca Raton, Brevard Talent Group in Orlando. I was just like, I'm just going to sign with every agency in the U.S.
So you signed with all of them? I
signed with all 3 in 10 days. And which is very, like, don't do that, guys.
No.
Don't do that, because I would get the same audition for all 3 people,
right.
And then I would have to tell 2 of them, like, oh, sorry, and they're just kind of, why did we sign you, dude? Like, what the fuck,
What was the second step? Right after that, what did you do?
So the second step, I realized, okay, so all these people all these three agencies, they were telling me, you know, hey, we're going to submit you to we're going to submit you to Los Angeles, New York, Vancouver, Toronto, all the big acting hubs where they're shooting everything. I was like, great, let's rock and roll. Weeks went by, months went by, 6 months go by. I haven't really gotten a union audition because Florida is known for non-union work, and we can also go into that if you want. I have very strong thoughts about non-union work, but I understand, hey guys, if you just want to make a quick buck and this isn't a long career thing, 100% do it. But it's all non-union work, and I would never get auditions. And it wasn't until literally maybe 2 years after signing with these agencies, I realized an agent gets you an audition with a casting director who has been hired for a project when the agent knows the casting director, like knows them, like can call them up and say like, hey, how's your kids?
Personal.
Yeah. I didn't even put those two together because I didn't realize that's the name of the game. It's so when people literally tell you, remember, like, you know, when like, oh, Hollywood, you know, it's all about who you know. It is literally about the people who you work for, who they fucking know. Because if they don't know, they can have an agency, they can have whatever, but shit, man, if they don't know like these people, it's really hard for them to get, you know, unless it's something so specific, unless it's literally 5'5", 24 years old, glass eyeball, speaks Mongolian. Unless that's you, like, it's going to be really hard to just, you know, because today everybody with the Me Too movement, it's so, even the breakdowns that I audition for now, it's so like, it's not Caucasian, it's not Black, it's not Latin, it's just like, we just need a male, 18 to 40. What do you got? And it's kind of like, yeah. So that way there's no like kind of racial, like, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. It's just like, let's just see who we can, you know, what ensemble we can put together. Let's see. So from there, I realized, okay, Florida has pretty much lost their tax incentive. There's no jobs here. So I need to start making moves to Atlanta. Very thankfully, one of those three agencies, Talent Direct Agency, had opened an office in Atlanta. So
wait, but before you moved to Atlanta, you did 2 jobs here. You did Miami Love Affair, and you were in a music video with Piso 21, no?
Piso 21, yeah. So I was literally doing what everyone else does here when you first start out. You got on backstage, you get on Actors Access, and no matter what it is, you just do it. I did student films. I played a weird Nazi in a student film in UM that I have yet to see the footage or...
Probably got lost, maybe.
Yeah, that famous lost student film where they all go, that void. But
and that was your pay. And that was your pay, the footage, and you never got it.
But you know what? What you do get from it is that little thing on your resume that says student film lead, and it's just on your resume. So when people
but also I was just like if you. Also
but that is your pay to.
But how to talk with people, you know, it's very different being able to speak with people on set. People are stressed out, things are falling away, and then when you see a real set, you're able to kind of like learn from both.
100%. 100%. One thing that I really did learn doing that student film again is because of 2 jobs that I'd done before that, again, I had like one line and the other one was like just yelling and fighting. So it was actually such a great experience because you could work with the camera guy, the director, the cinematographer, whoever, what small 5-man student group you had, and you get to like, okay, does this look good? Should I do this? Like, which way should we do this? It's going to tell the story best. And it's so much of a collaborative experience. And so when you go to an agency, and even though you've maybe never done a professional job, if you've done 4 or 5 leads in student films, even if you never got the footage, guys, they love to see that. They're like, this guy knows like what's going on, you know? That looks so much better rather than
nothing at
all. I've been taking classes for 5 years and I swear I kick ass. You know, it's like, okay, but you know.
That's so true. Like I always say there's a phase for everything in acting, and in the beginning you have to do a lot of those jobs just because you need something under your belt. Like to reputation as an actor, how you work, that's very important, and then you can take it to them, and you're right, like it does count. All those student films, like you said, maybe you never got the footage, but you
Yeah.
got the experience, and they do see that. So that's good to know for everybody that I'm gonna leave this 24 hours and I'm gonna post it. This is key, and like I love everything you're saying. So let's keep it going.
Keep it going. And honestly, I've met so many people who I know there's a school here in Miami for all you guys who are local here, AI, which is like on Biscayne and 15th. It's an art school. And apparently their like TV film like directors department has seriously grown, and they're always looking for actors. And those guys are taking it very seriously. It's not like, yeah, they go super serious with it. They have really good cameras, really good lenses. And so yeah, there's definitely opportunities.
So then you moved to Atlanta.
I actually never moved to Atlanta. I actually just say that on paper. I completely lied. That's another thing that I highly recommend people doing in this business. It's not necessarily lying if you can actually get there. Like I always, since I started doing this, I take whatever little money I make from driving Uber or doing Postmates or whatever small or residual checks from previous shows. I always put a small percentage aside, which I kind of like title my immediate actor traveler fund. Because if you do an audition and they say, hey, would you be willing to work as a local hire? Which when you do co-stars, that is such a game changer. Because they don't want to spend money and hotel for somebody that they just need for 6 hours on set. And so you got to know that if I audition on Monday and they need me Tuesday morning on set in Atlanta, it doesn't matter if the flight from Miami to Atlanta, even though that's an hour, it can be $50, it can be $500. You got to pay it, you got to get there.
And you gotta find a friend to stay with.
You gotta find a friend to stay with too. So a lot of the time, if I know that for example, I've auditioned a lot for Stranger Things, for MacGyver, and so there's so much that film in Georgia, and I always say, especially if they specify it, hey guys, my name's Yosef Kasnetzkov, I'm 6 feet, based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
There you go.
I've said that in Hawaii. I've said that when I've been in New York City. I've said that when I've been in anywhere, but you know that you got to pay, you got to do the job.
Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do
come
it.
through with it, like you said. Like they don't know you can live there, but get it, you better be there.
Absolutely.
You know?
So what I did do is when TDA opened that Atlanta office, I immediately took a trip. I spent the money on flight and a hotel to go and meet who they hired to work for that office, which I knew would be, that you talk about the business side of it. I immediately set aside money. It was like a 30-hour trip. I said, hey, my name is Yosef. I'm here in Florida. I'm with your guys' Boca Raton branch, but I'd like to come up there and personally take you out to lunch. And Carol Shaganoff, she's an amazing woman. She's been an amazing agent, an amazing friend. We met at a Panera Bread, right? I said, just pick a place. I'll be there, my treat. And I just wanted to introduce myself. And I know doing that, I don't have the facts to prove this, but I feel like I got a lot of auditions that a lot of the Florida guys didn't, because she knew that what I did showing her doing that, showed her I was ready to get there on turn of a dime. I'm very serious. This is not a hobby for me. This is my livelihood. This is my profession. So I highly recommend doing that. Guys, if you are based somewhere else and you have somebody hustling on your behalf in another city, fly out there and buy them a coffee.
Yeah, and sometimes we think a text is enough, and now you just proved that it's not always the case. No. A lot of the times is go out there and do it old school, meet at Panera Bread or wherever.
Absolutely.
For that, I had no idea you did that, and it now makes sense. You're doing the things that we should all, like, if we're taking it serious and that's our plan A, no plan B, we gotta do those things.
Absolutely. You know, I listen a lot to, I know I've told probably you and everyone in Miami Acting Studio, if you guys are podcast fans, it's free on iTunes. I've been obsessed with her podcast since season 1, Audrey Helps Actors. It is so good. It is no bullshit. It is just perfect, because when you look online, you only get 2 stuff. You get either how to get your first headshot, or you get Matthew McConaughey or Jared Leto talking about their 5th Oscar. There's nothing for the working actor, and this podcast is just that. You know,
say it again.
It's Audrey Helps Actors. AUDREY Helps Actors. Audrey Helps Actors. She's got 50 plus episodes now, and they're so informative. And I'd say about 90% of the stuff that I know now has come from that podcast.
So it's like a master class.
It's not even a master. It's not. It's just business. The acting side of it's just the realistic shit. And it's like she interviews other actors who are going through the journey in different steps. She interviews agents, casting directors, even tax people. How to file your taxes as an actor and get back the money that I got back the money that I spent driving from Brickell to Wynwood for acting class. You know, listening to this podcast. You know, when it comes to like you're doing your tax refund. You know, and I highly recommend it. Second thing, just because we're on the subject, I just got this book yesterday. I'm almost done with it. The No BS Guide to the Acting Business by Matt Newton. It is literally like 90 pages, tiny. I can't stop reading it. Matt Newton is my new acting coach in New York City. He's phenomenal. I don't know what else to say about that.
No,
it's like
your face said it all.
His book, it's like, it immediately starts. It's not like, it's funny, it's quick, and it's current. It's literally like 2020, what's up?
Wow.
What the fuck is up?
Okay, I just wrote it down, and I will also share that on the post.
It's so good.
I went to your website. You have a website.
I do.
There's a quote that says, "We think too much and feel too little" by Charlie Chaplin. Are you a fan? Did you pick that quote? Why did you pick that quote?
I've always loved Charlie Chaplin. He was kind of like the original guy who started it all. Now that I live primarily, in Miami now, but I mostly live in Manhattan. And there's this, the Comedy Cellar, which is a big stand-up comedy place that's downstairs from my apartment, where all these big comics go. I love watching stand-up comedy. I myself cannot do it. I have so much respect for those guys, but I love it, love it, love it. And they always have Charlie Chaplin films playing on stream, on like repeat, on the wall, on a projector.
What?
And he was just like,
to the right place.
Yeah. And I really just have recently gotten obsessed with him, and I always have. And I don't know. I was just like, I just researched, like, I don't know, some cool, weird acting quote that somebody might read on a website one day. I was like, you know what? Yeah. They'll show that I'm deep, you know, that I'm deep, that I don't want to be in Marvel movies. I'm deep, you know, I'm an artist. You know?
You're deep. You're deep. You know about Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you moved to New York. What has been the biggest struggle over there that you found yourself facing face to face with your fears? Have you been on the edge of giving up?
So before I answer that question, let me just put that last piece of bridge between we've connected Florida to Atlanta and then Atlanta to New York. So
go.
So because New York is obviously the main focus now, and so when I went to Atlanta, I was auditioning. I was sending self-tapes constantly from Miami, from New York, wherever I was sending self-tapes. But I realized kind of like a trend, because everybody's like, move to Atlanta. They have a big tax incentive. They have every film there. But I noticed all the auditions that I was getting were all co-stars, which is good, because you got to do at least minimum 4 to 5 co-stars before you can actually say, like, you know what, guys, no mas, I'm going to do guest stars, which is the next one. Yeah. But I realized people were moving from California to Georgia. People were moving from New York to Georgia. I was like, is this Georgia going to be the new, like, East Hollywood? You know, and I realized that Georgia has so much production, and what they need constant co-stars, and they hire local Georgia guys and actors and people who are willing to work as local hires just for co-stars. So once I kind of realized that, I was like, I feel like in order to keep my, you know, an upward trajectory for my career, I need somebody who's going to be also working for the guest star, you know, because the whole trick in any career, especially this one, is to never plateau. Always be climbing. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have lulls in auditions, and you're going to have, you know, times, months, maybe you don't feel like doing tapes or going to class. But that's when I realized, okay, Georgia is good, but there's a cap. There's definitely a cap on that. So what I realized is they hire for the co-stars out of there, but all the guest stars, all the leads, all the series regulars, New York and LA.
New York City.
I was like, damn, wow, okay. So that was my main thing. I was like, I have to go to New York. And thankfully, I did have a brother who has lived there for 10 years, because as you guys know, that New York is extremely expensive, extremely difficult.
Well, when you said Manhattan, I was like, wait.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I say Manhattan, and people are like, oh yeah, how do you live? I sleep on a kitchen floor with a couch pillow in Manhattan.
We're getting real and
Yeah, man. Behind the curtain, you know, kind of level. So yeah, I went to New York City and I started at, I'm sure I've told you this, I'm sure I've told Ralph this, a place I highly recommend anybody who wants to take a class, dip their toes in the water. If you're in New York, there's no prerequisite to sign up for classes. actorsconnection.com. They connect the actors to managers, agents, and casting directors. So you basically go, you do workshops, you can do 3-week classes. They have everything. They have voiceovers. They have anything that's related to our industry. They have. And so I started there, and I remember I flew up for like a week, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do a showcase. So it was like 2 days of classes, and on the third day, you perform a scene or a monologue in front of agents. And I did that, and I got, I think, one meeting with an agency. And then I was like, oh shit, you know, they're like, do you live here? And I was like, yeah, I live here. They're like, do you live here? And I was like, yeah, I live here. When, you know, I crashed on my brother's couch, but, you know, my brother lives in a studio. There's no private doors.
wow.
You know, it's tough. It's even if, you know, you're with a sibling, it's tough to sleep on top of somebody. Yeah. So I would just go for a weekend or, you know, maybe like 4 or 5 days. So I flew back, and keep in mind, guys, I'm just like, every bit of my savings is just like, I would come back here and literally not even sleep, just get home from the airport, turn on the Lyft app and just start driving and just start driving. And then when that stopped, just start Postmating. When that stopped, ukulele outside of Publix. No, I'm kidding. But,
So you play that.
Yeah, no, I thought about that. Everybody's doing that now during quarantine. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like rough it up.
Wait. Hello? Yosef? It's not. Okay. Let's go back. Yeah. Technical difficulties. You're not going to shut us down. No, it's not happening. Let's go. We're getting to it. Come on. Waiting for you.
There we go.
You're trying to shut us up.
Dude, trying to bring it down, man. It just said, like, thank you for joining. I was like, is there a time limit on that?
I was just getting started.
I know, man. What? So started doing that, came back here, flew back again for this meeting. And then I went to the meeting and they're like, all right, well, and meeting with an agency, that's a whole nother discussion. There's certain things as far as how you dress, how you present yourself, there's literally, I just thought it was like, oh, they just want to sit down with me and get to know who I am. So I sat down and started talking. You don't sit down, hey, my name's Yosef, I'm a Virgo, how are you? It is super specific. Thankfully, the lady who ran the showcase at Actors Connection called me. I befriended her. That's another thing, guys. Never burn bridges, only just make them. Everywhere you go, try and network, try to meet people. Don't be desperate, but just be, hey, find a way to connect to somebody. Hey, would it be okay if I had your email and sometimes maybe reached out to you with questions? Don't go cell phone, don't go Instagram, but just be like, can I have your email in case I'd like to ask you questions? You know, that's what I did. I told her, hey, I got a meeting. Boom. I had a Skype with her for like an hour. She's like, this is what you have to prepare. This is what you need to pitch. Because they ask you questions like, what do you see yourself? What kind of casting are you? And that's a whole nother thing, knowing your casting. I didn't know my casting. Me personally, even though my last name is foreign, I am a second generation American. My family's been here 100 years. But what they saw me as is an Eastern European. And to this day, I was like, I don't want to just be stereotyped. No way, dude. I'm like a cool surfer. No, that's the thing, Valeria. You know, when you go there, literally, you gotta fucking it's New York City, so you gotta be a Puerto Rican. You gotta be feisty, hot, tempered,
you know,
crazy. You know, it's like you have to, it's so crazy. You have to know how people look at you, not how you look at yourself, which is super frustrating. It's super frustrating because shit, because that makes us do stuff that makes us audition for parts that we personally don't connect with. And that's another thing that I realized. Wow. So when people say like they made it in this career, I think it's when you get to a point where you can actually say no to jobs, number one, because we never say no. It's like, well, you know, obviously if it's like crazy shit, but you get to a point where you can actually portray a character or audition for someone that you're yourself, you know? Because until that comes, you're going to be, like if you were to go to New York right now, I guarantee you would get nonstop Law and Order auditions, because every Law and Order SVU has some like killer gangbanger guy whose like girlfriend is mixed up in it, and she's getting interviewed with detectives. You would audition, I'm telling you right now, that's it. Yeah. And it sucks because like that is like that's like stereotyping to the level of just racist. Like, you know, that's like, putting you in such a like, that's no 100%. But that's how people watching that shit in Idaho or I don't know, wherever, that's how they view us. That's how they view you. They view me as just a scary Russian dude, even though fuck, I've never even been to Russia.
Mexican, right? Like me. I'm not Mexican, but people see us as that. And it's crazy, but
that's the thing.
You have to know that that's how they see you, even though, you know, you can think, and I think we learned that a lot in Ralph Kinner's class.
Exactly. That's what I love about that class, because we have Olga, who is literally from Kazakhstan, Russian, but she looks literally like a princess from South Korea.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like, oh shit, like that's gonna be so weird. She's, you know, it's
it is just like that. So then you go to
so
New York.
I go to this meeting. They sit down with me for 3 minutes. I flew from Miami to New York City, taxied from Newark, got there, crashed at my brother's place for one night, had to Airbnb for another because he had a date the next night. I go to this meeting, 3 minutes. All right, well, we're going to go to the next step of this interview process. Come back in 3 months and prepare a classic play to perform with one other person. And this was in January. And I was like, come back in 3 months to perform the second part of this interview?
What? That's crazy.
I was like gutted. I was like, now is like the audition time. Like, I'm here to work now, please. Like,
what a struggle.
You know, and I was like, dude, this business, man.
And now you have to find an actor to fly in with you.
I have to find an actor. I have to fly that actor. They have to request off from work. So, shit, fast forward 12 weeks. I flew with a friend here. We picked a play. We memorized literally like, by the way, they didn't even tell me this. We memorized like a play for 20 minutes. Right before we start, we're both shaking because we're so nervous. We have flown across the country. We're all ready to go. And they're like, we're going to time you at 5 minutes. We're going to stop. So we just started from act 1, scene 1. And at 5 minutes, right before like the shit gets going, and time, thank you for coming in.
And you waited 3 months to be in that moment, to be done in 5 minutes.
To be done in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. That's the struggle. People need to understand that this is what
and
happens.
And the cherry on top, I never heard back from them. Boom. Completely wasted. So back to square one, back to Actors Connection. Boom. I went there for the entire summer. I was like, you know what? Forget this one class, one showcase. I went every day, 2 classes a day for 3 months. And that's how I finally got who represents me now in New York City.
So that's what I'm saying. You were never on the verge to give up. Like right after that, be like, yo, I'm tired. You kept going.
So the whole thing about this career is it's not a 5-year career. It's a 50-year career. And that's super difficult for people to hear. But that's the truth. That is the truth.
Said it.
You know?
That is the truth.
A lot of people who are
really,
it's so frustrating. It is like I'm a big fan of statistics. And people don't like to run statistics, especially in acting, because it's like, just don't even bring that shit up, you know? People
Mm-hmm.
say if you book 1 out of every 20 auditions, you're doing great. That's the national number that everyone says in Hollywood. If you book 1 out of every 20, dude, you're crushing it. I average, and I have talked and done this with all other actors in New York, in LA, in Atlanta. The average actor gets about 23 to 26 TV film union auditions a year. But if you book 1 out of every 20, you're supposed to be doing good. So if you work 5 days over the next half decade, you're doing good. That's $5,000 for the next 5 years. So, you know, it's
But it helps you. Yeah, like that's
yeah. So that was initially why I said, like, okay, so I'm gonna have, at one point, I don't now, but I had 7 agencies.
wow.
And I got in a lot of trouble. I got my hand slapped by multiple times, and I was like, you know what, guys, put yourself in my shoes. Put yourself in my shoes. And I gave him the statistic I just gave you, and I said, you know what, the amount of money, the amount of time that I've spent to just get one of you guys to be working for me, yeah. If there is a show in Miami, in Boca, in Atlanta, in Orlando, in New York, in the Carolinas, I want to be ready.
I mean,
Because
I can
otherwise,
tell. I mean,
how are you supposed to make it? Yeah.
What?
How are you supposed to make it with those odds, you know? And so that's why when I tell people, I'm like, this is the Olympics, you know? Because I heard an analogy this week, and I was like, oh, perfect, I'm going to tell Valeria this. Somebody said, when you tell people, like, hey, would you like acting? Would you like to pursue acting as a career? We want to be an actor. It's like asking somebody if they want to ski in the Olympics. Do you like skiing? Do you like snowboarding? Yeah, I love skiing. I love snowboarding. You want to go this weekend? Let's go this weekend. Do you want to be in the fucking Olympics for skiing? Do you want to quit your job, quit your family, quit your life, dedicate every single day of your existence for the next 4 years for one run in the skiing Olympics where you may or may not make it? People don't want to go skiing that much anymore. And that's what this is. That's the best advice I could possibly, one of my favorite things that I've heard this week. Yeah, this is the fucking, you know? And so I thought, like, wow, you know, like, I'm going to be crazy because I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to spend the money, nobody's going to hustle harder. But shit, man, I got to New York, which is, I'm sure, the same in LA or the same in Atlanta. Everyone is literally ready to fall on their sword for an audition, you know? Yeah. And it's crazy. But what the positive is, now that we've kind of given that dark, realistic side.
And the realistic, because it's the truth.
It's the truth. One thing that I do tell a lot of my friends here in Miami is, before you just pick up and go to LA or pick up and go, try as best you can to work, because we're in smaller markets here. Even though we have no tax film incentive, Leo DiCaprio is shooting in Cocoa Beach, Florida, a National Geographic show called The Right Stuff. They already wrapped already, but I think there might be a season 2. I'm not sure if it got renewed. You're in Miami, you know, where there's so much smaller stuff, but there's more opportunity, you know? And if you can get amazing footage, maybe you fly to Atlanta or fly to New York or LA for a weekend with your girlfriend or your family, schedule ahead of time, headshot session, work with the best get really, really good headshots. And then you have a resume, you have a reel, you have the headshot, you got the website, you're ready to go. Then you go to those major cities. You're so much more competitive rather than somebody who's, you know, playing that, I just got off the bus, I got $4 in my pocket card, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So
how do you and your girlfriend handle all of this?
It's very difficult, that's for sure. Sometimes we go weeks without seeing each other, but it is kind of nice because she's finishing her 3rd year in medical school. So yeah. Awesome. But with that said, it's also kind of nice because she is so occupied. It's not like she's sitting here alone at the apartment
waiting for you.
You know, like, that would even be even more difficult. But the fact that we're both just like, dude, you crush this, I'm gonna crush this. If you have 5 minutes to like FaceTime before you pass out, good. If not, talk to you tomorrow. It's like,
Yeah, but I'm sure
but
they
yeah,
try their best to keep the
yeah,
communication going
totally.
as well as possible. Because being far from each other, that must be a challenge.
It's
With the
super
communication.
tough, but another thing is she's just as obsessed with acting as I am, and I obviously coming from a family of medicine, so I love following her journey and she mine. So, but it is difficult.
I love that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
recommend guys or girls out there. I wouldn't recommend dating another actor because I've only heard horror stories.
There you go. Come on, say it. Because
Dude,
I feel like
do not date even maybe another type of artistry. You know,
it's
like I
totally
think one
true.
time you were like dating a really hot DJ, and I was like, oh, that's probably fine. You know, because if you get like an audition and they get a gig, then it's like, oh, like,
Yeah,
what?
like we,
You got
yeah.
like you booked, but I didn't. Like, even though you guys are fucking different genders.
Yeah, no, I mean it is. I think that it's good to be with someone that understands what you're doing, like that supports you 100%, and you support them, and they're able to see because it's like a language. You guys are speaking the same language, even though
No, for sure.
may not be an actor too, but he loves movies. Just so it makes sense.
Right.
Like we support each other like that, and I think that's so special to be with someone that because it's hard. You're not booking things all the time. You're not
Super difficult.
Yeah.
It is.
So
But,
you shuffle?
yes, I'm a diehard dancer, dude. Diehard.
You are a professional shuffler.
I wouldn't say a professional shuffler. You know, I don't have a 401k in dancing, but I've always when I was in Europe as a kid, I was introduced to so much just like electronic music and techno music, and I was like, oh, it's so good. And I like all genres of music, but I got it. I've always loved dancing, and I wouldn't call I definitely don't put. Another thing that I learned: do not put something you enjoy to do as a hobby on your resume, unless you are a professional. Because for fun, I was like, yeah, I'm a dancer, but then I got an audition to dance, and it was like it was like some male ballet thing, and I was like,
gosh, that's funny.
So yeah, I've always loved that. First time I ever came to this city was obviously for Ultra, and yeah, good times.
Somebody just asked you something, and I don't know if it's an inside joke.
You miss Zip Pack? Let's try and break this down. You miss Zip Pack. Let's see. I think a few people have written stuff.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so many cool people.
Right?
Danny Jets. Choo. My friend Avi is an Israeli actor. Guy said Sam here in LA. Yes, agents do that here. You must audition in order to get one. Very relative, can be different from person to person. Yep, totally. Oh, you miss Zippys. Oh yeah, you need a kind boy. So Zippys for those of us here in Florida. Zippys is, I'm trying to think, there's no equivalent really. We have it here. It's like a fast food but local Hawaiian food in Hawaii. And it's insane. Like it's insane. Like
stop it.
You go there for breakfast, you go back for lunch, you go back for dinner. And you do that the entire time you're there. It is.
Oh, now I know what
I'm going to do. It is insane. Zip pack, surf pack, any pack, all the packs, 6-pack, Chihu. So Chihu's. We're not. All right, let's stay focused on acting. We're tangenting so hard.
So acting. What is the best project you've worked on? The one that you remember with love, that you learned a lot, that you got to experience, like you were like over the top, like you were flying across the room of happiness in a project. What is that project?
I honestly say it was my very first one, where I literally said my first line ever on professional union acting job was, "Sir." SIR question mark.
Oh, I saw that. You had black hair.
Yeah, I had dyed black hair. I was in a weird phase. I thought girls like emo punk rock music. This is like, I don't know. Anyway.
I went to that phase too.
Yeah, we all did. And that was the one where the submarine built inside the warehouse in this small studio. And just being able to like witness that, and Andre Braugher was the guy who's the Brooklyn Nine-Nine lead. He was the guy who I said that to. And I had already seen his face before Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I knew he was a big actor. And I was just kind of like being there quiet. I was 20 years old. And I watched him work with the director. And it was, I never realized, I thought, you know, actors were just kind of pawns on the table and the director just moved us how we wanted and we performed whatever as best as we could. I didn't realize, that was the first time I realized it was such a collaboration. And we were in the middle of doing, you know, like, because they give you a list of scenes that you got to knock out, and usually it's based on location. So, for example, it's just cheaper and easier and more time and financially better to shoot by location rather than by storyline. So, for example, if you and I make a movie and there's 2 scenes in this apartment, one is in the beginning and one is in the end, we'll shoot the beginning and the end while we're in this apartment, because we're here, we're set up, we got the location, we paid for it, rather than let's shoot from the beginning to the end. So
like, let's come back.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And so there was 2 scenes that they were doing. One was extremely comical and light, and then the following one was like very serious. Like I think like he found out his son died or something like that. And we literally finished the comical one, and they reset super quick. It was like the same camera angle, and they're like, all right, let's go. And he said, stop. Andre Braugher stopped 200 people on the clock, and he said, excuse me, is it okay if I take 10 minutes to go to my trailer? I need to mentally wash and prepare myself, because his next scene is going to require a completely repertoire of emotions and what I can give you as an actor. And I was like, whoa, dude. I got goosebumps, like just hearing him do that. And we all just kind of like 10 minutes, you know, took a granola smoke coffee break, and then he came back and he was just like tears and just like gave like one take amazing performance.
That's powerful.
Hugo, fucking love you, dude. Hugo's on here. I constantly think of that guy. Honestly, he's such a ripped soldier, so hardworking, but again, he's Puerto Rican. So it's like, I always think like, oh, what like whenever I read an audition, I'm like, fuck, like, what would Hugo do in this, you know? Because Miami is such a melting pot, you know?
I know. I don't know if Hugo has gone there. I know a lot of actors are starting to make that move, that brave move, but out of our friend, you were the first one to be like, peace out, guys. Then it was Rocky, then Andrew left to LA. And I think Hugo should make that.
Absolutely. Dude, hardest worker in the room, man.
We have 2 minutes left because it's the countdown. I could ask you like literally 1,000 questions.
Same here, dude. Anytime.
It's so good talking to you, like for real.
Me too, man. Miss you, man. Hopefully when this is all over,
you could be doing whatever it is, and you still take the time to talk to us, like your friends.
Nice. And you guys are family, not even friends. Family. We're all
family. And the last question I'm going to go with is, I'm going to read you a quote, and you're going to tell me who said it and why.
Okay.
It says, not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep pushing forward.
Ooh, I said that first Instagram post.
Woo!
Yes. Isn't that good? Wait, no, sorry. I stole that from a Rocky movie, but I said it.
Yeah, but you said it. I didn't know it was Rocky. So.
Wait, we got Cedium. Super quick. Ask me anything. Cedium. What's it? Is that your friend, or do we know this guy?
Yeah, that's my friend, but we have like 50
seconds. Cedium.
Yeah. Next
Love
one.
You, man.
Part 2.
Part 2.
And thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you, Valeria. Anytime, any questions?
You are the bestest. What?
Anytime you got questions or whatever, reach out. Always here. Always ready.
You know I always do. Thank you. You're amazing. Have the best day ever.
You too. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
That was so cool. Thank you so much. See you Friday. I'm going to be live with Roberto Ramos from Amparo. And I'm so excited. Love you, Yosef. That was awesome. See you guys. Bye, 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 bye.